concept to commissioning, the USS Sioux City, with your host, Tim Seaman.
Hello, and thanks for joining us. I'm Tim Seaman. Last Saturday, indeed, was a historic day for Sioux City with the commissioning of LCS-11, the USS Sioux City. After 6 years of planning, the newest combat ship is now an active part of the United States Navy. The weekend commissioning in Annapolis, Maryland, brought several thousand people together at the U.S. Naval Academy. I had the opportunity to be there as well, along with about 500 Siouxlanders who all witnessed this once-in-a-lifetime event.
What so proudly we hailed.
It was beyond measure. It's nothing at all what I expected. I enjoyed it so much. I mean, I was totally honored and privileged to be here.
And the over 500 strong citizens of Sioux City, a special welcome.
It speaks volumes that this ship will carry the name of USS Sioux City as it performs critical missions around the globe.
Very patriotic, and it makes everybody feel like they're an active part of what's going on for the United States, for our state of Iowa, and where the USS Sioux City will be headed.
Our ship is the first to carry our name, Sioux City, a community enriched with military service, American pride, and family values. A community that has embraced this ship and her crew as one of their own.
It made me feel like they brought my city right here to Annapolis and pushed it out to fight the war and be a group of people that can get together and fight for our nation.
Oh, it's extremely patriotic. It's just a very, very nice event. They really did everything first class.
The fact that now these men and women serving in uniform on this ship, they're now children of Iowa, children of Sioux City. Very proud moment in history for the state of Iowa.
I had a great committee chairman. I had a wonderful namesake city. What more could you ask for? So it will be hard to follow this one. It's just a great combination.
So when Mary and I talked, when we first started doing this, we said we were going to do the biggest and the best commissioning ever done for a littoral combat ship, and we did it.
That was Sioux City's own Kevin Keene singing the national anthem. The massive 378-foot-long naval ship is named after Sioux City in part because of our patriotic, hardworking citizens. The ship's commander, James Malone, took time during the ceremony to thank the ship's namesake for many years of support.
Thank you to the namesake city, Sioux City, for welcoming us with open arms, making us feel like we are part of your city each and every time we have visited. We are proud to sail in your name.
Iowa U.S. Senator Joni Ernst providing the featured comments for that ceremony. Annapolis Mayor Gavin Buckley, the Undersecretary of the Navy, and several others all joining in the program. Sioux City Mayor Pro Tem Dan Moore praising the city's newfound relationship with not only the U.S. Navy, but Annapolis as well.
As we gather here at this historic moment, this historic time, I realize and I appreciate that it's about the people, and it's about the relationships of the people. And there hasn't been anything stronger and more vibrant than the relationship we've established with the United States Navy and the city of Annapolis.
The hundreds of Siouxland folks who traveled 1,200 miles to see the commissioning also got a chance to experience the USS Sioux City up close and personal. Likewise, I had a chance to spend a couple of hours touring the ship, and it truly is a city at sea.
And I will say that this was the first ship to get through the Great Lakes without a major breakdown.
The Sioux City is indeed a city at sea.
I know we got some folks from Sioux City out here. I appreciate you guys making that trip.
Made up of over 100 miles of electrical and fiber cable, 1,000 pounds of aluminum, and 2,000 pounds of steel. The ship covers 4 floors, and its control center, the bridge, is most impressive. And surprisingly, only 3 sailors will work this space.
Automation means smaller number of crew members on board. So we rely on cameras to man our cameras essentially replace men and women in the space.
The Sioux City carries a crew of 75. Getting from point A to point B means navigating tiny hallways, steep stairs, and always watching out for your head. Littoral combat ships are designed for close-to-shore, shallow water combat. 40-foot high-speed boats will deploy through this bay when duty calls.
Whether we're chasing drug runners in the South American area, or if we're chasing smugglers over in the Persian Gulf, they're looking to be able for us to get in, drop them off quickly, and get out quickly under the cover of darkness without being detected.
6 months at a time or more, this is home for the men and women of the Sioux City. But the accommodations aren't what you and I would enjoy. 2 men or women rely on these berthing compartments to get some shut-eye. Quarters are more like dimes here.
Like the Exos, it's actually very spacious, so it is very comfortable on board. You know, your legacy ship, you know, other ships you normally would be in a larger berthing with a few more folks, and so having a 2-person stateroom for most of the crew is very nice.
This temporary space is open for guests.
This is a 12-person.
But there are dining and other kitchen spaces, as well as a medical suite.
So Doc can do basic stitches, sutures. If it came down to it, he could pull a tooth, I should say, or teeth, depending on how bad it is, right?
The ship's firepower was obvious once we made our way to the deck. This is a 57-millimeter gun.
Close to shore, we're, looking at enemy helicopters that we might have to shoot down that are attempting to locate us and give away our position. We're not able to conduct naval surface fire support like other ships such as destroyers or cruisers just because of the range of our gun.
Commander Lewis tells me that he can get from end to end of the Sioux City in about a minute or so. I spent close to 2 hours, wide-eyed and walking the small passageways of this ship, and easily could spend 2 more. That was Commander Chavius Lewis leading our tour that day. The event's, of course, very special for everyone in attendance, but especially so for the midshipmen lucky enough to be invited. That included 2 with a Sioux City connection. I caught up with Bishop Healing graduate Sam McGowan and former North High student Natalie Wender. Not that long ago, Samantha McGowan and Natalie Wender were leading a carefree life that comes with high school.
I'm thinking specifically of the north side, like Hy-Vee, Casey's, Walmart, like all right there.
After accepting an appointment to the U.S. Naval Academy, that changed. Wender is a first-class senior who recently learned she'll serve as a surface warfare officer. McGowan is about halfway through her freshman year and is what's known as a plebe.
I love it here. It was an awesome transition from high school into college, and having everyone here for the USS Sioux City commissioning is really awesome. It's like having a little bit of home here.
So formative in terms of just my own development personally and then professionally. I think I've learned and grown into like a lot of skills that I normally would never have had.
This may be the Naval Academy, but because of shallow waters, big ships almost never get to the sea wall. McGowan tells me the arrival and soon departure of LCS-11 has provided an adrenaline boost for midshipmen.
Everyone's talking about it. A lot of the mids are trying to get tours of it, so it's definitely it's awesome to have. There's not a ship in port here every day, so it's really cool.
With Sioux City and the U.S. Navy forged together for the life of the ship.
They've got the Iowa mids, and I think the Nebraska and South Dakota mids are going as well, so it'll be really cool. Definitely a different experience that we're all looking forward to.
Didn't matter who you talked to, everybody walked away impressed.
It was well worth it after coming out here to see this, and I think it'll be, for all Siouxland, will be worthwhile.
Probably the best part of it was the combat stuff up in the front windows where you could see, and like the wind speeds and the direction it was. I thought that was really cool.
Of course, the commissioning very meaningful for all of those folks, especially the young ladies whose naval careers are just getting started. Also special for those who have already served. The events at Annapolis equally moving for them, and I had a chance to catch up with a couple of veterans who were looking forward to getting back to the Naval Yard and talk to them about the patriotic events ahead.
There's the USS Sioux City right here. Last year for Veterans Day, I wore my flight jacket and I had my flight suit on, so all the patients got to see me in my naval flight suit.
Sioux City's Dr. Jeff Kellogg served 8 years in the U.S. Navy and can't wait to return to his roots.
For us to get this is a pretty big deal. The opportunity to go back to the Naval Academy, see the Naval Academy. I was stationed at Bethesda for a little short period of time, Bethesda Naval Hospital. So I'm going to be back there, and I'm going to have an opportunity to show my wife some spots that I've got the chance to see earlier.
And I know how special a commissioning is. It doesn't happen very often. There's only, a few ships every year that are commissioned. I have never seen one, but I've heard everybody that has told me they've been at one has said it's one of the most patriotic events you will ever attend.
Between appointments as a financial advisor, Dan Holzrichter is also finding himself reliving days gone by.
These guys deploy on board a ship for 6 months at a time. They may be out to sea for 60, 70, 90 days in a row, and that's an awful long time to be at sea. And your city, your hometown, and where you went to school and that huge tie come together. Yeah, it's really, really a significant thing for me.
Holzrichter and Kellogg are just two of many Naval Academy graduates making the trip back to Annapolis.
That's a photo of me in 1985.
And for the hundreds of others who will witness history on Saturday, the two former midshipmen know just how special the trip will be.
Well, the history, I mean, when you look at Annapolis, when the first 13 colonies developed, Annapolis was the very first state capital. And it was in Annapolis where George Washington resigned his commission as general in the Army and said, I'm going to be president, so I can't be general at the same time. That was right there in Annapolis. So
it's neat for Annapolis because even though it's been around since 1845, it's been the Naval Academy. They haven't had a ship commission there at least in 100 years that they've gone back.
Neat doesn't begin to describe the lifelong relationship these men have with the military. The Navy creed calls for a commitment to excellence and fair treatment of all. That's something Kellogg and Holzrichter say they look to share as long as the USS Sioux City is at sea.
So that was one of the things I thought about when I heard about the USS Sioux City and the commissioning, that it really is a lifetime, the lifetime of the ship, that we will be connected with that ship and hopefully helping it and having a great rapport with them.
Once at the U.S. Naval Academy, I was able to catch back up with Holzrichter and asked how he was feeling being back on the yard.
Well, when you go through here and your education's paid and you feel kind of a debt to pay back because it, not only for the education, but just to set you up with all the discipline that you learn here, the lifestyle that you learn here that takes you through life, and most people do very well after they leave here, whether they stay in the Navy or the Marine Corps or not. So to give something back means a lot, and it's always special when you come back here.
From warfare to humanitarian work, the U.S. Sioux City is a ship that can do it all. We'll talk to the commander of the ship. That's coming up in about 7 minutes. But first, from concept to commissioning, the USS Sioux City took years to complete, and it all started with a phone call. We'll explain who made that call coming up next. Welcome back. The USS Sioux City is now an active combat ship for the U.S. Navy, but the ship's commissioning comes after years of hard work and dedication, and it all started with a phone call. It's something that you could never hope for. So when Sioux City learned that the 11th vessel in the fleet of littoral combat ships would carry the city's name, it was almost unbelievable, even for those closest to the honor.
I remember it like it was yesterday. I was sitting in my office and my secretary came in and said, hey, the Secretary of the Navy, Mavis, wants to talk to you. And he wouldn't say why, and I told him to call back at 11 o'clock, and I said, yeah, and I'm sure the President's coming by for coffee too, and I don't have time for this because it was tax season. And then he called, and I kept asking him questions and Googling the ship as we went, and I figured out it wasn't somebody pulling a prank on me, but it was a real deal.
Word first surfaced about the future USS Sioux City in 2012. That's when Secretary of the Navy Ray Mabus came to Sioux City in June and made the news official. After nearly 4 years of design and construction, the soon-to-be Sioux City was christened January 31st, 2016 in Marionette, Wisconsin. Ship sponsor Mary Winnefeld handled the time-honored tradition by smashing a bottle of champagne.
You're the one who's swinging that bottle and you're so close to it, you're really hoping that it doesn't go all the way over. So talked to my kids beforehand and they gave me a lot of tips, you know, on swinging a baseball bat, and so just to follow through, and sure enough, it was good advice, and so hopefully this will bring her lifelong good luck throughout her whole career on the ocean.
I mean, that just seems like it was a long time ago now, and it took them a lot longer to, you know, get all the stuff on there that they thought they would, but that's okay. It's time now, so.
Once christened and set for trials, the Sioux City's Blue Crew, the first crew to man the ship, has become a part of our community. Numerous visits giving folks a chance to welcome the crew, who in turn will take some Siouxland hospitality out to sea when the ship leaves port on Sunday.
I feel so blessed to be associated with this ship and to have the host city as Sioux City. I couldn't ask for a better host city. And from being from the Midwest myself, I grew up in a small town in Wisconsin, not too far from here. I love all the values and the down-to-earth and the wonderful support that we've received from this great city.
The ship completed acceptance trials in May, with this week's commissioning the last step to place the future USS Sioux City into active duty with the country's military forces.
They are definitely eager. They are ready to get underway. They've had all their time in the shipyard. They're tired of being able to just look at her and not really put her out to her test.
The ship will have our name being out protecting our freedoms all around the world, and I think it's really a neat deal, and I think it's good that we've got to know these crew members as well as we have, and I think, you know, we've developed a relationship with them that'll go on for a long time.
And the USS Sioux City commissioning wouldn't have been possible without the outpouring of support from the Siouxland community. A large role that they play. We'll take a peek at that coming up in 7 minutes. But first, my opportunity to talk to the ship's first commander. We'll hear from him when we come back. Welcome back. The Navy is using a new staffing protocol for the USS Sioux City. 2 completely different crews. Commander James Malone will lead the Blue Crew that will guide the USS Sioux City into its first mission.
We know that this ship is designed to be able to be involved in warfare in shallow, close to shore. Tell us how that might roll out. How do you see
so
that
what that does for us is it opens up different ports around the world that their traditional ships can't go into with their large drafts. We're 15-foot draft. A destroyer cruiser is about 30 feet. So those ports that those guys can't normally get into, we get into, and we can partner. We can build partnerships with other nations, or if the last resort is we need to get in and close and personal, then that allows us to get there.
The other thing I think it's neat about this ship is that you also will have non-warfare duty. You're able to do humanitarian type work. Talk
Absolutely. So below us, as you go on your tour, you'll see some pretty open spaces that would allow us to take on some humanitarian supplies. And we have a boat that we will launch from an 11-meter rib that can carry quite a few people and a lot of supplies. But that tasking, of course, will come from higher headquarters.
Well, on behalf of everybody in Siouxland, let me say it's been a great run since 2002 when Secretary of the Navy Maybe came into Sioux City.
Yes, sir.
We can't wait to follow along and be at your side as the life of this ship continues.
Well, the goal is to keep Sioux City and the USS Sioux City tied together through the lifetime of this ship, and I think we've got that relationship established.
Thanks much, and best of luck.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Of course, countless hours of work and hundreds of millions of dollars went into making that ship a reality. When we come back, Sioux City was also part of that send-off. We'll take a closer look at how the community participated. Welcome back. From concept to commissioning, it has been a long journey for the USS Sioux City, and one that wouldn't have been possible without the support of people and businesses right here in the ship's namesake city. Since 2012, when Secretary of Navy Ray Mabus first informed city leaders about plans for the Sioux City, the area's patriotism has proudly been on display. Hundreds of individuals as well as businesses, large and small, asking to be part of a once-in-a-lifetime event.
The opportunity to associate our company name with this initiative is great, and it creates some awareness. But I think what it really does for me and for my company is the pride that our employees have in being involved and associated with something that is this important.
Stepping up has never been an issue for community and business leaders here. Siouxland Chamber of Commerce Executive Director Chris McGowan says Siouxland's pride and participation are very much on display when it comes to the Sioux City.
I've been involved with economic development and the promotion of Siouxland for 15 years. And there are certain things that you see over time that make you incredibly proud of your hometown. Some people hearken back to the response of United Flight 232. Others will look at the response to the flooding in 2011. I put Siouxland's response to the USS Sioux City in a category that basically reflects on the caliber and character of the people of this community. The response has been overwhelmingly positive and really impressed the people on the East Coast and with the United States Navy.
It certainly, obviously, is pride of our community. 500 of our citizens are going there. That's amazing. We thought we'd be lucky to get 100, and we're going to take 500, so that's really neat, I think.
I've got 10 grandkids, and I think a lot about my responsibility not only to the next generation, but to my kids' kids, and an opportunity to do something like this and associate our family name and our business name along with the city where I was born and raised. This is an amazing opportunity.
Dollars and cents don't tell the whole story, but thanks to business leaders like Wells, more than $500,000 has been raised locally to help defray the cost of the commissioning celebration. The Sioux City and Siouxland will forever be linked, and it's impossible to predict what the long-term impact on our community will be.
I think this is a wonderful opportunity for our community to elevate our profile in an area that we wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to do so.
And much of that business support was on display at the Taste of Sioux City, an event that followed the commissioning. About a dozen local businesses, all providing food products, for a free event held at Dahlgren Hall. Once home to graduation ceremonies, it housed the U.S. Naval Academy ice rink through 2006. It opened way back in 1903, and it's now home to support offices and this massive assembly hall that hosted the Taste of Sioux City. Folks lined up throughout the morning hours to get a taste of those food products from right here in Sioux City. Overall, it was an amazing week on the East Coast, from the events leading up to the actual commissioning to the commissioning morning and the ship leaving port as it heads towards its final tune-ups and its first mission. Concept to commissioning the USS Sioux City, no doubt about it, a special and historic week for the people of Sioux City, and we're very proud to be able to bring you that story. Thanks for being with us tonight. I'm Tim Seaman.